Welcome all to the PMO Leader 4th Annual Conference, PMO for a Changing World. We're having our first panel discussion of the day. So with great privilege that I get to introduce three very astute leaders in the PMO field. And the discussion is going to be on mastering the future. So essential skills for the all-rounded project leader. So from that, our three guest panel members are Demi Anderson, Mark Abdelmalek, and Syed Wajid, who is calling in from Pakistan, and Mark and Demi are calling in from Australia. So welcome to the three of you to our conference and agreeing to be part of the panel. I'm going to give a quick overview on who they are and where they're from. Plus, we'll then go into a series of panel speaking, some questions just in regards to mastering the future. So our first person that we've got on the panel is Mark Abdelmalek. So Mark is the head of PMO APAC at a global law firm based in Sydney called Herbert Smith Freehills. He's got 28 years of experience, and also Mark is part of the PMO Global Awards Judging Committee for 2023 and 2024. So Mark certainly knows his way around PMOs. Prior to his role at HSF, Mark has led key positions in leading organisations where he played a pivotal role in optimising project management. Also a volunteer at community boards in the homeless and aged care area. So welcome, Mark.
Thank you.
Next we have up is Syed. So welcome, Syed. So
thank you.
So Syed's also, he's from Pakistan, but also works out in the UK. So we have a dual national here. Syed's got 2 decades of experience as an executive leader and specialises in project management, strategic planning and business development with the retail, consumer services and software solution sectors. Excels, I should say, in change management, business transformation and PMO. Diverse industry experience with strategic advisory roles, equipped him with a really unique perspective on creating commercially driven strategies, improving return on investment. So welcome again. And last, certainly not least, Demi. So if you were on the conference before, Demi has been one of our speakers, but for you people who have dialed in new, so Demi has got 3 decades, I should say, Demi, experience of global experience, really interesting background, has worked on sort of all corners of the globe, expertise in project, program and portfolio disciplines, has had senior leadership role, working with C-suite, delivering a broad range of initiatives, and is passionate about all things PMO. Worked in industries such as banking and finance, insurance, trading, oil and gas. So welcome to 3 of you, and for all the participants that are here on the meeting, to listen to this, you've got really diverse backgrounds here. We've got some great conversation that's coming up. So thank you all. Now, I'm going to ask a series of questions, as I was saying before, and what we'll do is I'll pose them to one of each panel member, and then we'll be looking to get just to hear some different insights into you. And as we spoke about before, not everyone has to have the same opinion. So I'm going to go to Syed first. We're talking about evolving leadership in project management. So project leadership has evolved significantly over the years. And in your experience, what key leadership qualities have become essential for project leaders today that weren't necessarily important, say, 5 or 10 years ago?
Thank you, Julie. Appreciate it. With regards to evolving leadership and ever-evolving leadership of project management, certain leadership qualities have gained prominence. I would say, firstly, adaptability is paramount at the moment, as leaders must navigate rapid technological advancement and shifting marketing dynamics. Emotional intelligence, or EI, has become essential for managing diverse and often remote teams, fostering engagement and collaboration. Additionally, a focus on sustainability is crucial as projects increasingly incorporate environmental and social considerations. Finally, I would say resilience is vital to tackle unforeseen challenges and maintain momentum in complex projects. These qualities have enabled leaders to drive success in today's dynamic world. So 4, adaptability, emotional intelligence, sustainability, and resilience.
Mm. Oh, that's great insight, Syed, and especially I think we've seen that a lot with. I know we're a year or two out of the pandemic, but all those skills that you've mentioned certainly have underpinned and brought the success out of our emerging leaders and leaders now. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Mark, balancing technical and soft skills. This is always an interesting one. So we've a lot of the time when we were, dare I say, all of us growing up and learning the ropes about what it meant to be in business, where there'd be you had soft skills or you had technical skills. But we know with project management, it's you really have to have that good balance. So as a project leader, we often hear about the importance of balancing technical skills with soft skills. How do you develop both in yourself and your team, most importantly? And do you think one is becoming more critical than the other in today's project landscape?
Yeah, look, I think the key word, and you mentioned it, is balance. I think it is really important to have that balance of both for a well-rounded project manager. But I do think, and this could be controversial, but that soft skills will become more important. And I know we're going to talk about AI. In the previous session, we talked a little bit about AI. So there's certain elements of our role now that will, can become automated and will becoming automated, which then puts, and it was touched on in the previous session, more emphasis on the soft skills. So I think that's going to become really important. So you touched on emotional intelligence. So you can read the situation, you can read people. AI won't be able to do that. So those skills becoming more important. Communication is a foundation of what we do. We bridge, as project managers and leaders, we're bridging groups and we're bridging teams. And so many different groups and people involved in our projects. So I think that is a key skill. And the technical side of project management obviously is also important. So we mustn't lose sight of the technical side or the technical skills of a project manager, the good governance practices, maintaining the risk and issue register, reporting up to sponsors and stakeholders, keeping the steering committee up to date, project status reports. So all of that side will always be important and is critical for our role. So yes, you need the balance, but I do think soft skills will become more important in the future.
I love the way that you said this might be a contentious opinion, and that's one of the things that we love about the PMO leader is we're agnostic, so we want to have different opinions. We want people to be saying this, and I can sort of see, I can see Demi and Syed smiling in the background too, because the thing is with this question, I might pose it to yourself too, Demi, and Syed, please, if you want to offer opinion as well, and it could be, you could say I agree with Mark, or it might be a little bit different, but what's your take on that?
I do broadly agree with Mark. I think in this, and to echo, I guess, some of what they had said, there is disruption everywhere in the landscape, right? So there is so much more uncertainty, so much more complexity. Those soft skills are crucial in times like that. Communication is the bedrock of what we do, and being able to communicate at various levels of the organization with various stakeholders and being able to remove the jargon and speak plainly. And that in itself is a skill, right? Because we can get caught up in our world of what we talk about being, delivery, risk, all that sort of stuff. But it's really engaging the whole organization and recognizing that various people are at various stages. So communication is so key, because you need to be able to work with executives and speak their language, and then various like technical resources, business people. So I would say communication is one of our key soft skills that we need to develop and develop really well, because being able to explain things plainly, simply, is a real skill.
And it's as you say, in communication. So if you think you're telling a story and it's not being understood, well, then obviously our communications, there's a breakdown. So that's great insight. Okay, I'm going to jump onto a data-driven decision-making question now, just to mix things up a bit. I'm just going to pick. I might pick on you again, Mark. When I say pick on you, it's said with love and respect. Okay, so just to let you know that. So data-driven decision-making. The rise of big data and analytics is transforming project management. How can project leaders best incorporate data-driven decision-making into their roles, and what skills are necessary to effectively leverage these tools?
Someone told me once, I think it's a pretty common saying, you can't manage what you don't measure. So it's always stuck with me, that saying. And I'd sort of share a little story of one of my previous roles. We were starting a PMO. It was an IT PMO, so I was in that specific department, and we didn't know how much time people had to do projects or to work on projects. So I kind of socialized with the management team. Look, can we just do some time sheeting for 6 months? And obviously, there's certain messaging and organizational change that you have to go through with time sheeting and introducing time sheeting. We got the okay to do it. We did it for 6 months, and we were able to show that BAU consumed 80% of people's time, and people only had 20% capacity to do project work. So it was extremely valuable to the management team to know that. It's something they had never quantified before or had an idea of before, and it really helped us when we were setting up the PMO to understand what capacity people had, what extra resources we might need to do projects. So projects wouldn't languish on forever and not get done because people just didn't have the capacity to. So the importance of data is really important to help you make decisions and have the facts. So it's not based on assumptions or guesswork. So having the facts and sharing those facts with the management team is really important and gives them the information they need to make good decisions.
Yeah. I think that's a great point.
So yeah, I think
sorry, go Mark. Sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I was just about to say, I think it's a great point that you've raised about the once the data was clean and it was realised there's only 20%. So that's 1 day of the week, and that 20% may not have included the other overheads about people doing training, and so all that capability uplift. And I'm pretty sure that most people on the call would say 20% of the week isn't very long at all. So doing your projects on the side of your desks, not necessarily the best way to change your business, is it? But I just wanted to share. I just thought that resonated with me.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm not sure I've answered the question, but I was kind of giving a good example of the importance of data, capturing data, and using it for making decisions.
Well, I think this just using the example about saying the time sheeting. So it was a data-driven decision maker to say, the business thought they had the capacity to do was a project-centric business, but in fact, 80% of the time was for business as usual. So you're not going to be successful in trying to do transformation with that sort of a short amount of time frame.
Yeah,
that's what I took from that anyway.
Yeah.
And I just thought nod too. So I'm hoping that resonated with yourself as well.
Yeah, I agree with Mark, and I would say developing skills in data analysis and visualization is crucial. That enables leaders to transform raw data into actionable insights. Additionally, fostering culture of continuous learning, collaboration within the team is vital to leverage these tools effectively. Where I would say both technicals and soft skills are important. and the ability is to interpret the data and communicate data inside is becoming very increasingly in project landscape today. So PMI has introduced various AI small courses and stuff. So I think it's a crucial skill for project leaders in today and future world.
Mm.
And sometimes too, we have limited resources. The BAs are great. You know, you don't necessarily have to hire a data expert and stuff like that. So if you're a small and you're a lean team, a good generalist type of BA has those skills that can really help with doing the data analysis and gathering the data as well.
Great. Oh, well, thank you very much. I'm going to mixing it up still even a bit more.
Do you want me to jump in on the data-driven decision making?
You happy to hear.
Well, what I would like to add to this, because this is a really topical point, isn't it? Organizations at the moment are faced with big data, and data is across various sources. It's not located centralized anywhere. Like the information that needs to be extracted is typically not in any one source, any one system or platform. And as with anything, you know, garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
And you certainly don't want to boil the ocean, right? Because extracting data in itself is of little value unless it can be transformed into information, because that's what businesses need, information. And this is where having a clear understanding of what problem are you trying to solve, and therefore what data are you needing to extract from your various platforms. Is it even out there? You know, is it clean? Is it out there? Because compiling data to be able to share information can be time consuming and resource intensive. So I would add that you know, this is a very important point. Big data is important, and it's how organizations are able to make informed decision making. But data in itself has to be transformed into information in order for it to be of value.
Yeah, and to what Syed was saying before in regards to that visualization. So that's such a skill for. So, and what you were talking about before, being able to speak the language of all, from, you know, at this level down to this one, and then about being able to visualize it so it makes sense and people can consume it. That's great. Thank you. Now, next one. Throwing it out there again. Building and leading agile teams. Now, agility has become a buzzword across industries, but it requires a specific mindset and skill set to lead agile teams effectively. How can project leaders cultivate an agile leadership style, and what are the biggest challenges in leading agile transformations? Now, I'm happy to throw it to the group here just to say, would anyone like to go first?
Yeah, I would say to cultivate an agile leadership style, project leaders should embrace flexibility and continuous learning. Encouraging open communication and fostering culture of collaboration are key in there. Leaders must empower teams to make decisions and adapt quickly to changes. The biggest challenges in a leading agile transformation, and that includes overcoming resistance to change and ensuring alignment across the diverse group. Building trust and promoting an iterative mindset are essential to navigate these challenges effectively, allowing teams to thrive in dynamic environments. So these are the key things I would say.
Oh, very insightful. Thank you for sharing. Mark, I can see you're smiling.
I was going to say, too, and then we touched on this, that communication becomes a real key because, you know, things are changing at a certain pace. And then along with that, being calm. I think in those environments where there's a lot of change happening and stuff, as a leader, you know, if you bring this calmness to your project, it permeates, you know, through the team, and then people can make decisions in a good way and come together. And they're not afraid to speak up when there's good communication, and they feel that they can speak up without, someone having an adverse reaction to what they say. They'll be more comfortable with speaking up during, those changes and whatever's going on.
And that's so important as a leader of emerging leaders to be able to put yourself in that, to create that safe space for people. So you dare we say, practice what we preach. Now, but there's a few more. I've got the 10-minute warning that's been put up to me, but we've got a few other questions here, and there's been a good theme here about dealing with uncertainty and change and emotional intelligence. And I've got a question here in regards to dealing with uncertainty and change. And hey, we're in projects. That's exactly what we're dealing with: uncertainty and change. So I'm going to ask this. I'll pose it to yourself, Demi. The ability to navigate uncertainty and change is critical for project leaders today. What strategies or frameworks have you found most useful in managing unexpected shifts in projects, especially in large or complex programs?
So we are living in what's often called this VUCA reality. So it's a lot more volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. But it's important to distinguish between complexity and complicated, because complicated is able to be addressed by knowing that there's difficulties through, but through processes and what have you, you work through that and you could manage. But complexity has a lot more unknowns, and that's where you increase the requirement for like oversight and governance, and maybe reduce the when you're working with that, try and reduce the complexity through effective and robust risk management frameworks, effective and robust governance frameworks, and when dealing with complexity, it's based on assumptions and hypotheses. So you need to test those, you need to validate those, you need to basically manage those, and having the framework that allows you to do that, where you're doing a bit of trial and error. So you kind of implement things incrementally, test things incrementally to verify the hypothesis. So you need to have that framework where, back to the previous point, agility, right? To be able to innovate, agility to be able to implement. And that's, I found, an effective way of dealing with uncertainty, having those robust frameworks for governance, risk management, that is known and adopted across the board.
And tried and tested, and as you say, and they're repeatable, solid.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Demi. Now we've got there's once again emotional intelligence in leadership, and a key theme here. But one I think we're all quite keen to talk about. Now it's I was saying here, it's often EQ. It's often cited as a differentiator for successful project leaders, and we've all nodded our head and agreed quite strongly about that one. Now, a question, and I'm going to say a question to you all, and I'll go Syed first, then Mark, and then Demi, and then potentially we'll be at the end of our session. How do you personally develop and apply emotional intelligence in your leadership role, especially when dealing with diverse stakeholders or managing conflict? And I'm going to go Syed first, and you've got, and I'm going to time box everyone, so I've got 90 seconds to be able to respond to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. So developing emotional intelligence, or EQ, is integral to my leadership approach. I focus on self-awareness by regularly reflecting on my reactions and seeking feedback. To enhance empathy, I actively listen to diverse stakeholders, ensuring their perspective are valued. In managing conflict, I apply emotional regulation techniques, staying calm and objective to facilitate resolution. By fostering an environment of trust and open communication, I build strong leadership relationships along with my stakeholders, enabling successful collaboration and project outcomes.
Great. Thank you very much, Si. That's amazing. No pressure, Mark, but can you follow up on that one, please, in 90 seconds?
Yeah. For me, really, it's sitting back sometimes and just reading the room. So observing, not being too quick to jump in and give my opinion. And so that gives you, try and develop an understanding of, if it's stakeholders or a project team or the people who you're dealing with on this project. Get a good understanding of them, their drivers. I talked to my team too about the personal touch, having a bit of a personal touch with people, starting off the conversation with, how was your weekend? How's your day? How's your kids? How's your dog? And then going into work. And that kind of breaks the ice a little bit and then makes tougher conversations later on a bit more easier if you've had a bit of a personal connection.
Build up that rapport. And hello to Mark's team too, because I believe they've all joined. So that you,
great. I wasn't sure whether they were going to get through the firewall, but they obviously have at work.
Thank you very much, Mark. And Demi, I'm going to say this again. Last but not least, over to you about. So I'll just read the question out for everyone. We've got a few minutes to go here. So EQ is often cited as a differentiator for successful project leaders. How do you personally develop and apply emotional intelligence in your leadership style? In your leadership role, especially when dealing with diverse stakeholders or managing conflict.
Okay, so I'm going to start by citing a quote, I think was by Stephen Covey, which is, first seek to understand, then to be understood, right? Which is what both Mark and Sia are saying essentially, right? Listening is important, seeking to understand whoever you're working with, dealing with, before then seeking to be understood. And self-awareness is always important, and developing ourselves and our skills and being able to motivate and seeing the best intentions in others when we're working with various people within the organization. And often, I think when, in my experience, when you do encounter conflict or tensions within the organization, everyone is coming from a good intention, because everyone's got a different viewpoint of, and where they're coming from in terms of when they're raising concerns, risks, issues, what have you. Everyone will have their vantage point, and that's why it's, first seek to understand, then to be understood. So recognizing, various people will be passionate about their positions, their viewpoints, because they are seeing things perhaps from a different light and a different perspective. And it's where you get the best outcomes and best results is to be able to bring those diverse considerations into the decision. So, yeah.
Thank you, Demi. It's time to wrap up and thank you all for your participation. So it was great to hear from. So we've got a big thank you to Demi Anderson,
Thank you.
To Mark and to Syed, and thank you for spending all your time and energy. I know you've put a lot of preparation into and really thoughtful insights into these questions. I think that your teams are fortunate emerging leaders to have you as their managers, as their leaders, because you've got some great insights into that. So thanks again. And for everyone else, we are about to head off into a 15-minute break. So thank you once again. Please, in that time, don't forget the hashtag. So if you're on the socials, to tag us in. And any insights too, please keep using the chat. If you've got any questions in there, we'll capture them all feel free to visit the booths as well, and see you all in 15 minutes time, where I'll be talking to Fatima about PMO trends. So this is one that you don't want to miss. Thank you all.